All right, welcome back. It is flat top time. We are talking about flat tops. Love flat tops, love cutting them. One of my favorite parts of the business. And in this video, I just want to cover flat topping tools. That's these comb things that kind of look like big old, I don't know, ping pong, pickleball paddles. But they are a necessary conversation as a part of the conversation about cutting flat tops. I learned how to cut with these in the first place before I moved on to cutting with regular combs. This is where I started. So I'm going to talk about what they're all about, a little bit of history about them, my history with them, and information you need to know, because you probably want one. You probably should have one because it'll make your life so much easier. Like the video, comment on the video, turn on your notifications, subscribe to the channel, share the video with somebody in the business that can benefit from some of this information. So this is the original Brian Drum flat topper. Now I've made some changes to mine and I'll talk about those in a minute. But I bought my first one in 1988 at the beauty show in Chicago. This is that first one. I've had it forever. I've never broken it. I've used it for years and years and years to do great flat top work. They're mid-tone beige, so they're great for visibility. The things you need to know about flat topper tools are this. You don't hold them by the handle like you're playing tennis. You put your thumb over the top with your knuckles underneath, because your knuckles are going to rest on the client. See how my knuckles are sitting on the head, allowing me to stabilize that flat on the head like that? Boom. Cut. Smooth. When you're coming in sideways with a flat topper tool, you're coming down from above and you're doing the same thing. See my knuckles hit the head to stabilize the tool? This is where the modifications come in. One of the first things I did is I take a screwdriver and I break and get rid of the level. Pop it out, throw it away. Because if you're working at eye level, you can't really see it anyways. It doesn't serve a good purpose there. And it's only level on this axis, which doesn't really matter. We're teeter-tottering off our thumb this way. So ignore the level. The second thing, I take a Sharpie marker and I put a big black dot in the center of the flat topper. That is the dot to remind you that when you're flattening the top, unless that dot is at the apex, all the way up at the top of the head, you're going to round out a corner, and that's going to be a problem. You want to bring this in and get it all the way to the top, and get it all the way to the top where that dot is all the way to the top of the head. Same thing applies to cutting the sides. The dot has to come all the way down to the parietal ridge, all the way down to the parietal ridge before you can vertically clean that off. Otherwise, you're going to round out the corners. So that's visual modification. Lose the level, add the dot. Classic flat topper. I sold them for many years. I no longer offer this on my website. Honestly, they're just too expensive these days. They're imported. They come from far away, and there's a lot of jet fuel to get them to you. I don't sell them because I don't think they're of value anymore. It works. What I sell instead is this guy. This is a version of it. I bring them into the country, so they're super inexpensive. I got them in black. They do have the level. We ignore the level. We can put the dot on there, and it still works the same way. We're going to be introducing it from above to get the sides vertical, from the sides to get the top flat, and it works great. We'll even do some cutting with them in some subsequent videos. I also want to share a couple other things. There was a time when the flat topper people offered what they call the wedge topper. I'm going to show you that sideways. It's wedge shaped, and it's about an inch thick. Taller flat tops like what you see on my head? Absolutely. You're going to introduce this in, and this is going to sit higher up the head, and this is going to leave more hair on the head. This is also good if you're doing flared looks where you want the sides to be flared out, because you could bring this down the head and flare things up. Think 80s geometry in some of those haircuts. Again, the wedge topper is no longer made, no longer available, but I do sell a version of it. It's got that same 1-inch wedge shape, but the one that I sell is 3/8, maybe almost a 1/2 inch narrower. Doesn't really change its usefulness or its effectiveness. By way of nostalgia, I do want to share with you this guy. This guy was called the flat liner. And at one point, the flat topper folks wanted to modernize the tool, and they tried to make something a little sleeker, a little swoopier. They were also trying to use it as not a flat top tool, but a general haircut blending tool, which lent itself to the big red which I do offer now, but this was their attempt to move beyond just flat tops with it. Again, this is a collector's item, no longer made, no longer available, but cool piece of nostalgia, the flat liner. Now, while we're talking cool nostalgia, I have to share this. This is one of my personal little treasures. Take a look at this guy. The bubble level still has juice in it, it still works. And if you look closely at it, this says Gear and Blum, Troy, New York, number 444 is what's stamped on there. This is aluminum. This is from about late 1940s, probably not into the 1950s. Shorter handle, all aluminum flat top cutting tool. It still works perfectly well. It's super lightweight. My point with sharing this, and of course you can't buy them, you can only find them as collectibles as I found this one, but my purpose in sharing it is to share the idea that these are not new tools. These things have been around a long, long time because they're cool tools and they work. During our flat top conversation, as part of this flat top series, I'm going to do some flat top cutting with a flat topper so you can see where it can be valuable to you. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again in the next video.